Hey, it's me, the Trillis Winter, aka Emma Jane. Like and subscribe, or I'ma quit. Just kidding. But here's the thing. Today's topic comes from one of my favorite people, and it's all about the principle of least interest. And you may want to know, what exactly is that? Well, it's one of those situations where, you like somebody and they don't like you the same way, or they like you and you don't like them the same way. And why does this always happen? Well, it's called the principle of least interest. And it is a sociological term, but it's used heavily in business negotiations. Yep. But even more, it's used in relationships and all kind of power dynamics. And so I want to talk about, why is it that when we like somebody a lot, they don't really seem to like us the same way? And usually it's because once we have what we want, we don't really want it anymore. That's the human default. And so what happens is we end up in these situations where we're pursuing, we're, into them, and then we pull back because we're just like, okay, I got it. I'm not tripping anymore. And so the person on the other end is like, hey, I just want you to go back to the person you used to be when we first met. But you're like, I can't do that because I got you now. So now let's get comfortable and cozy, and I'm gonna go do what I do. I know you'll be right here. And, we'll meet back up whenever. But the other person is like, but I want to be with you all the time. What do you mean? And so that is when you find out where you are in your relationship. Are you equal? Are you equally attracted to each other? Or are you imbalanced? And I'll tell you what, this is where that toxic stuff comes in, because a lot of times we will become very manipulative to try to get the principle of least interest out of the relationship. So when we feel like someone isn't as interested in us, we will go through lengths to play this game to pull them back into us. I'm sure you've heard of the no contact rule, which is 30 days of no contact, or don't respond to their text messages in 30 minutes or an hour. Don't double text, don't all this, don't do this. And the reality of it is it's all game. It's all game, and it's all manipulation. And what it is, it can't be sustained. Nobody wants to continuously chase the other person if they're not being chased back. And so you have to decide, are you the cat or the mouse in your relationships? And if you find that you're the one always chasing and the other people are always running, you might have to pull back and ask yourself, maybe I want to switch roles this time. Maybe I don't want to be the one chasing. Maybe I need to date someone who's on my equal level of attraction. Because the reality is that we usually want what doesn't want us. We usually repel what we're trying to attract. We are usually chasing instead of magnetizing. And until we change that law, we will always feel like we are so close to getting what we want, and then it goes away. And I really want you to get out of that. I want you to be in a place where you're like, okay, this is pretty balanced. This is a balanced situation. But the only way you can really do that is to date in your league or be friends with someone that you are not putting on a pedestal. And I had a whole video about that. Is you have to get to a place where you know that you're equally yoked or equally aligned in the connection. And it's really difficult to do when you are someone who actually is intrigued by someone with power. I know. And that's the thing. Most of us are intrigued by people with power. And what happens is the people with power have so many people chasing them that they're like, oh my God, I can't give interest to everybody and everything. So I can only sprinkle it here and there, leaving the other people feeling like, you're not giving me enough, you're not giving me enough. And then the person with power, or the principle of least interest, will just say the hell with it and just stop talking to you altogether because you're stressing them out. So you got to get to a place where you feel just as powerful as that person, and you won't be the one with the chasing energy. So because what it is the person with the least interest always has the power in the relationship. That is really important to understand. So if you understand that if the least interest you're showing, or the least concern, if you're not the one showing issues like, oh, I'm worried if you're going to leave me, or I don't know why you didn't call me. Let me tell you something. You already know who's got the most interest in the relationship. It's the person who's always tripping about why you didn't call me back. Or it's the person who's like, are you into me the way I'm into you? And you start doing things to try to figure out if they're interested in you. And that's that toxicity that comes up. So I just want you to understand that it is a natural tendency to like something bigger and better, but just understand that you may be getting into a situation where not only do they not see you the same way, but they may not give you the same amount of attention, and they might not consider your feelings as much. And the remedy of that is to date equally. And unfortunately, living in America, we're not really all about equally. We're about capitalism. We're about going to the top, being at the top. And then we find that when we get there, it ain't all it's cracked up to be. And maybe we should have just been, hanging out on our level. So I want you to just, take all this into consideration and understand it's a very natural phenomenon to have the principle of least interest in your relationship. But you also need to know this. In any healthy relationship, you are going to swap interest levels. So what I mean by that is there will be times where you have the least interest, and there will be times where they will have the least interest. Now, those are pretty healthy relationship dynamics, because let me tell you why. You want to be able to have solitude. It's important that you spend time with yourself, by yourself, doing the things that you like without your partner, because that means you're healthy and you're growing as an individual. There's also things that you want to do with your friends that you don't have interest in doing with your partner, or they don't have interest in doing with you. And so that, again, also gives healthy relationship dynamics. And so you're going to have these things that pull you away at times. You're going to have work, kids, hobbies, whatever. And what you'll find is that, when they're doing their thing, you're missing them. Like, dang, I wish they would hurry up and come home because I miss them. They're out having their friends. I don't have any friends. Why do they have all the friends? And so you'll switch. But then let's say, for instance, you have to go to work, and then they're like, oh my God, they work all the time and I wish they could get off work. And because you're the workaholic and they're the one with the social life, that's why they have all the friends. And so what happens in these relationships is that you go back and forth with the principle of least interest, and you both are wanting each other constantly, because one is missing the other and the other one is willing to chase the other or wait patiently till they come home, but you're still desiring them. And so those are the healthiest kind of relationships, when two people are equally interested and also have their own life outside of each other. That creates a nice ebb and flow of who gets to have principle of least interest today or this week or this month. And so when you're going out and you're meeting people, be careful of, chasing somebody that didn't even notice you, because guess what? You've already lost. And that's what happens with a lot of, women and men, is that whoever got approached first, okay, they know that they have the power, because why else would you be approaching me if you didn't see me? I didn't see you. So you don't have any power until they allow you to have it. So that's the thing about when you get into those kind of situations, is that the person who gets approached has the power. Then what happens is the person who approached you pulls back. So the person who's like, wait a minute, you approached me and now you ain't even checking for me. What happened? Because now they've lost the least interest principle, and it's swapped. So now the person who got approached is chasing the person who approached them. And it is very frustrating, but it's also cute, because, it's also this little thrill game. We love the thrill of the chase. And, until you're burnt out, because you will get burnt out, I promise you. Until you're burnt out, you will love this game. Men love the thrill game, okay? They are born to chase. They are born to run after. And what happens is, eventually they get tired. They probably were in their 40s. They're like, I'm over it. And what they do sometimes is switch the game back, where they're like, look, I'm tired of chasing. I want to be chased. And that's what you see a lot now, is that men are kind of waiting around for someone else to show this extreme level of interest because they're tired of chasing and they've been doing this, in their 20s and 30s. So what happens is you get these two tired individuals and ain't nobody want to chase anybody. And then you're both aloof to each other and no one's getting anywhere because nobody is willing to chase because you just don't have the energy. So, it just depends on what you want. Some people like to be chased. Some people want to chase. Some people want equality. It's all about what you really want. But just understand the principle of least interest is the most common dynamic in relationships. It does drive you crazy because, hey, you know what? The person who's not paying attention to you is like more attractive. And we get into these places where it's like, dang, I wish they liked me the way I like them, or I wish they would call me back when, as quick as I call them back. And, sometimes you just have to say, look, they got a bigger life than me. They're doing something better than me, or they're occupied more than me. And if you can't handle that in those kind of relationships, you have to get with someone that I would say is least than you, where you have the principle of least interest. And so I believe that there's different times in your life where you will have the power or they will have the power, but it's all about where you are and what you want to deal with. But it is natural. It's something that you have to deal with. And as long as you deal with it correctly by acknowledging where you are in the relationship, then you shouldn't have any issues. But I would say it is a thing, and some want to play, some don't want to play. But either way, let me know. Have you been in a situation where you had the least interest and then they were chasing you, or they had the least interest, and how did that make you feel? Did you feel like you had to chase them down? And so eventually, did you ever figure out, like, I just want someone who's into me the same way, and how do I do that? Maybe that'll be the next video. How to make sure they're into you the same way that you're into them. But anyway, so thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can DM me or you can leave a comment. And it's so great to talk to you. And I'll see you later. Thank you for tapping in.